Welcome to this dramatic courtroom breakdown. In this intense legal saga, we're diving into the case of Mr. McDonald, who's been fighting against a cycle of violations, poor decisions, and let's face it, some very bad luck. The courtroom drama unfolds with a series of offenses, from drug charges to high-speed chases, and an ongoing battle with impulse control stemming from a serious medical condition. The stakes are high, and the judge is running out of patience. But here's the twist. Mr. McDonald's defense is centered around his medical struggles, which he claims are affecting his behavior. Will that be enough for leniency, or will this be the final chapter of his chaotic history with the law? Stick around to find out how this case unfolds, because the judge's final ruling might just leave you speechless.
Get a discharge from jail treatment program on August 19th. You understand the charge?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Novotny?
Your Honor, today we're going to waive the final hearing amidst the violation forthcoming today.
Is that what you want to do?
Yes, sir.
What's your plea to the allegation?
Guilty.
I'll accept your guilty plea and find you guilty, Ms. Novotny.
Your Honor, we would like you to consider, if possible.
Here's the first critical turning point in the case. Mr. McDonald's attorney, Ms. Notney, brings up his medical condition, something that could be a game changer. She describes how a neurological surgery in 2009, combined with hormone treatments, has severely impacted his executive functioning and impulse control. This isn't just a defense strategy, it's a plea for empathy. But how much weight should this carry? It's a tough situation, and the courtroom is divided. Does a medical condition excuse poor behavior, especially when it leads to crimes like reckless driving and violations of the law? As the judge listens, it's clear that this could influence the outcome.
To remain on community control with that respect. Hopefully to potentially continue and finish the JTP program with that. Your Honor, I did submit some exhibits, specifically 5, that informs the court about the hydrocephalus that my client has suffered from. In 2009, he had neurological surgery on that, which ultimately, several of the documents have ultimately come to tale that such surgery has affected with the mix of his puberty, testosterone influx, and the surgical procedure has impacted his executive functioning, which causes ultimately his impulse control or his executive functioning or thinking to become an issue. So that has been a battle for Mr. McDonald here. He's been trying to work with that. He's been working with the Cleveland Clinic. He's been working with Applewood Center's mental health and other mental health providers to help keep that intact, as well as to find ways that he can cooperate or ultimately diminish the impulsivity urges, as well as monitor those primary issues that he's been experiencing. In one of the specific exhibits that I provided to the court, ultimately, such surgery with the testosterone influx has caused a degree of interference in his functioning with social impairment, which is no excuse for what has occurred here, but ultimately may make an explanation for it, and Andrew understands that. Ultimately, he does show remorse for what has occurred. He just would like another opportunity to show the court, as well as to maintain the treatment that he's getting for his neurological disorder. And he has been constantly working with the Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities with this, and he's receiving help and disability for such disorder. We're just asking for any leniency with this probation violation, Your Honor, and to consider him for community control.
Mr. McDonald, what do you want to tell me?
Well, in the jail, it is very difficult to, not necessarily cooperate, but to keep a good, I don't want to say attitude, but to just be positive is just because.
Now, Mr. McDonald takes the stand to explain what's been going on behind bars. He talks about the mental toll jail has taken on him, mentioning how correctional officers' bad days affect his own mental state. But here's the issue. He admits he has a chip on his shoulder and that his attitude hasn't helped the situation. This is a pivotal moment because it's not just about the legal violations anymore. It's about his mindset. And as he confesses, I know for sure I will complete it, it begs the question. Is he truly ready to make a change, or is he still trapped in the same cycle of self-sabotage?
With the correctional officers having bad days and them coming in, and it's just and with me, I have a very hard time with, them people younger than me coming in scolding me because they're having a bad day and things of that nature, and people in JTP hearing them scold me and they knowing I have, a chip on my shoulder and I'm on a thin line. It's just difficult to, I've been dealing with this jail for 9 months, and it's very mentally like disturbed me. Like I don't feel as though I'm getting any mental health treatment, even with JTP. I don't think it was. But if you give me another opportunity, I know for sure I will complete it. I'm not making any excuses. I could have sat, and completed the program. Me being who I am, I like to play around, and I guess I did too much of it. So I'm gonna own up to the fact that I, didn't complete JTP, and it was my fault. But I know for a fact if I get the chance to, I will successfully complete community control. I just want a shot at the community. And I'm just hoping you recognize that.
You've been in and out of courts for a long time.
Yes, sir.
Got a felony in March of 21,
That is when it started, the felonies.
right? And it didn't stop then, right?
No, sir.
Okay. You got a misdemeanor out of Shaker Heights Muni, felony out of Richmond Heights for drugs, another felony, Cuyahoga, protection order violations twice within 6 days in Shaker Heights Court. Another one that was a felony, Cuyahoga. Failure to comply with the order or signal of a police officer June 12th of 23.
This is where the tension peaks. The judge drops a bombshell by directly confronting McDonald about his reckless actions, speeding at over 100 miles per hour while evading police. The judge isn't holding back, calling McDonald a danger to the public. But here's the kicker. Despite his previous chances and leniency, the judge is tired of hearing excuses. You don't seem to want to do what you're supposed to do, says the judge, and it's clear this frustration is building up. This isn't just about the law, it's about personal responsibility. Will McDonald ever fully take accountability, or will he keep falling back into his old habits?
Another one in Eastlake in October 20 of 23. So 4 months later. And then 10 days later, you get this one. So why do you keep doing this?
Well, initially, drugs were a big issue for me, the uses of drugs. But now that I've been in here, this is the longest I've ever been away from my family, the community. I don't want to keep spending my life in jail. This is not the place for me at all.
Well, see, I put you on community control despite the nature of this offense. And this offense is police try to stop you and you decide you ain't gonna stop. And then you proceed to go in excess of 100 miles an hour. So And this is 10 days after you had another one, which was 4 months after you had another one. So you don't seem to want to do what you're supposed to do. Now, I put you on community control for 5 years. And because of the drugs, I put you in the jail treatment program, and you didn't want to do it. You got kicked out of it. Because the next step was to continue the psychiatric treatment
Yes, sir.
and everything else that goes along with it. Okay? So Ms. Novotny talks about your medical condition, and that's, your medical condition is.
And here it is, the final verdict. The judge sentences Mr. McDonald to 24 months in prison, effectively ending his chance at community control. This is a harsh but necessary decision, made after a long history of violations and failed attempts at rehabilitation. The question is, will this time in prison finally break his cycle of mistakes? Will the harsh reality of prison time finally teach him the lesson he needs? This ruling sends a clear message. No more chances unless he's truly ready to turn his life around. It's a stark reminder that there are real consequences to continuously testing the boundaries of the law.
Is your medical condition. It may cause you to do things or not. I don't know. Okay? But if it does, you need to figure out how to control that. And you're not making the effort to do it. If you were making the effort to do that, you wouldn't get kicked out of jail treatment program. I mean, running from the cops and going 100 miles an hour in and out of traffic is dangerous. But you keep doing it. And you know it's dangerous. But despite that, I put you on community control. But you don't want to do that either, or you wouldn't have got kicked out of that program. And from what I understand now, from what you're saying, you're blaming other people for agitating you so that you got kicked out.
I take full responsibility, sir.
Well, you may say that. Those are nice words, but what you're telling me is the COs were taking it out on you because they had a bad day. Other inmates were giving you nonsense. So at some point, you just got to stop doing this stuff because you're putting people in danger. I don't know what's going on with that Cuyahoga case that's been pending for 14 or 15 months, and I don't really care, okay? But you are a danger because of the way you conduct yourself. And when we attempt to put things in place to treat that, you don't want to do it. How many days does he have, Dave, total?
Judge, he has credit for 204 days total.
Okay. All right, I'm going to find that you're no longer amenable to community control, so I'm going to terminate your community control, and I'm going to sentence you to 24 months in prison with credit for 208 days. When you get out, you might be on post-release control for up to 2 years under the parole authority. They'll put conditions on you. If you violate the conditions, the parole authority could return you to prison for up to 9 months for each violation, up to 1/2 of my sentence. If the violation's a new felony, and you could get an additional consecutive prison sentence for that violation, the maximum of which would be the greater of 12 months or the time left under post-release control. Anything else, Ms. Novotny?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
We're adjourned.
So, what's the takeaway from this gripping courtroom saga? Mr. McDonald, despite his medical struggles and personal challenges, has faced the consequences of repeated poor choices and failed attempts at reform. The judge has made it clear there's no more room for excuses. This case underscores the importance of taking responsibility for one's actions, no matter the obstacles in life. If you've been following this journey from start to finish, you know just how high the stakes were. If you found this case as shocking as we did, make sure to hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping courtroom breakdowns.